Man, if you're not using a shaving brush, you don't know what you're missing. So let's turn one. Why use a brush? Like I said, it's just a far superior shaving experience than using an aerosol can, whether it's Gillette or Barbasol. And it took me 40 years to figure it out. Regular shaving soap that you use with a brush has far less chemicals than the harsh chemicals you get in a spray can. And what's cooler than shaving with a brush that you turned yourself? So let's get started. Okay, let's talk just briefly about basic design considerations. I like to have a brush that's flat on the top of the handle so it'll sit like this, but generally when you use them, after you shake them off and rub it on a towel, you're going to put it in a rack so that it can drain. So the critical thing is make sure that you turn the handle part of it small enough that it will fit in whatever rack you're going to use, and large enough above it that it's not going to drop through. It's that simple. After that, you're kind of on your own. The blank size we're going to use is about 1.5 inches by about 2 3/4. We're going to use, in this case, stabilized sycamore, spalted sycamore that I stabilized in a previous video. So let's see how that works. All right, I'm going to make this design for this little smaller knot. We'll talk about knots here in a moment. This is a synthetic knot. 1.5 inches is a little bit large, so I'm going to come down just a little bit. And the first thing I'm going to do is true this up. Now I'm going to face it off. Make sure it's nice and square to the front. I could use a skew for this, but I'm going to use this small 3/8 inch. That's the actual diameter, not British size. It'd be a 1/4 inch if it's British. Bowl gouge, because it does very well on ingrained cross like this, and I'm just going to gently concave down. Okay. Now I'm going to drill in this case a 20 millimeter diameter or 3/4 inch hole, sized to be about 2 millimeters larger than the base of the knot. This is a little bit of a small knot. Didn't realize it when I bought it, but it's going to make a nice traveling brush. Now I'm going to drill about 1/2 inch deep. It's going to vary on your knot. Turn the speed down, no more than maybe 500 or 600, and I'm going to go in about 1/2 inch or about 12, 13 millimeter, right to about the center there. Now let's just kind of check that. It's a little bit tight, so I'm going to have to adjust that just a little bit with a scraper, and that'll be fine. Because it's just a little bit snug, I'm going to use this my box scraper, and just take off a few, just whiskers off this, not much at all. Get it up to about 1,000, or it's just a hair, and just take off just a bit and then test it. And that's a nice snug fit. I like that. I think you can see here I've got it fairly thick here, probably thicker than it needs to be, so I can take that down a little bit in my design to have a taper. Again, the main crucial design feature is that I have less than 1 inch, and I'm going to make that the end of the brush, and I want to taper it down to, oh, maybe here is where I'm going to bring it down. I'm going to use a cone. A cone is a great center when you're putting it into a large hole like this, just to give it a little more support. Now I'm going to back off the tool rest just a little bit. I've got my caliper set to that 1 inch, as you recall, and I'm going to use a parting tool to bring this down to that desired diameter. Now grasping this firmly in my hand, can't see it very well, like this. I'm going to come in with a caliper, and there's that 1 inch. Now I'm simply going to take a spindle gouge and start shaping this. I'm going to bring in my tool rest a little bit for support. Because this is fairly thick, I'm going to bring this down. And I'm going to round over the front for aesthetics. And then I'm going to start tapering it back. Now I'm going to start tapering down the back. We've got to have a way when I part this off for us to be able to clean up the bottom. And I'm going to show you two different ways. I'm going to do this first way, the lazy way. I'm going to do it in a chuck. And I'm going to do that by just turning a tiny little beak groove here. That I'm going to use to chuck it, and then I'm going to go ahead and round that over just a little bit. And that'll do it. And now I'm going to come back and I'm going to part it off right here. Now I look at that handle and I think, you know, I'm not quite sure I like the exact shape. I think I'm going to play with it just a little bit. Okay, I like that shape a little better. Now I'm just going to, I think I'm going to round over the bottom. Still leave it flat, but bring it, give it a little shape here. Now I've decided I'm going to use Minwax Antique Oil, one of my favorite finishes. I'm probably going to put, I might put 7 or 8 coats on here to build up a finish. So I've sanded to 600, and I'm going to go ahead and get started on this finish on the lathe so I can friction heat it in and maybe put on a couple of coats before I bother to turn it around. Okay, if you're a pin turner, you might use a CA finish. I just don't like using those. The oil really makes this pop, and this is an easy to apply finish. And if I put on enough coats, I think it will hold up fairly well. I'm going to use a thin parting tool. Give myself a little more space. Final cut. Now all I got to do is clean up that nub. I could probably do that on a sander. Easy enough. Probably easier than I can put it on the lathe. But I want to show you how I do that. With this particular jaw set and that particular size, I can lock this right in that groove and hold it fairly secure and pretty securely for that little bit of finishing that I'm going to take on the end with either a scraper or spindle gouge. Light cuts. In order to make sure I had a perfectly flat surface so this would sit on the end on a counter, I had to come back here with a little bit of a scraper just to take off this little bit of a high point in the middle. Okay, that's one way to reverse chuck it. Now let me show you another way. Taking a cue from when we did a chest set video a while back using this threaded mandrel, take this chuck off using the thread, screw it on. You cut a taper to fit the size of that hole about 3/4 inch and is deep so it'll rest here. Or that's probably a better illustration. You've got to drill a hole in there to match it, but that's another way to finish the end. Okay, let's talk about knots. These are made of various types of hair, boar hair, horse hair, badger hair, and synthetic hair, and each has its proponents. Like a bowl gouge, some like a Thompson gouge, others a Sorby or a D-Way, and on it goes. So let's talk about each one. This is my original brush with a Coca-Cola handle. I've been using it for about 8 years. This is pure badger, which is not a really high grade. It's one of the lower grade badgers. This is a pure badger, which is a little higher grade. And then this is a synthetic knot. Even though they look the same, this is synthetic. Each has its proponents. The synthetic dries faster, so I wanted a traveling brush so it would dry So that's why I bought this synthetic. But for everyday shaving, I really like a Badger because it holds the water better. But it's not, Badger is not always better for everybody. Boar brushes are real common. They're cheaper, they're stiffer, they work up a good lather, and the ends split, and it may get softer. Horsehair has more scratch and works up a good lather. There's different terms. I'm not going to go into it. How stiff they are, or what they call scritch, has to do with how stiff it is. Some people like it stiffer. Boar would be stiffer. Some people like it softer, like this Badger. And if you want to find out more details about that, I'll let you go out on the internet, and there's a bunch of shaving aficionados making YouTube videos that'll tell you more than you ever want to know about shaving brushes. How to use them, how to shave, different ways to work up a shave. I'm not going to talk about my favorite soap or really how to shave. I'll let you go out on YouTube and find some other videos on that. Where do you get these? Well, you can do a Google search. If you go on eBay, I bought this one. I believe I bought from Woodcraft years ago. This one and this one I bought off eBay. There's lots of different vendors out there. The key thing is what grade are you looking for? Badger, there's got 3 different grades, and they vary considerably in cost. But be cautious about what size, because if they don't tell you, it's probably going to be a smaller brush, like this 18 millimeter across the bottom. This is a 21 millimeter. It's a little larger. I would prefer probably a 22 to 24 millimeter. This is about a 22 millimeter. Size can fool you on the internet if they don't tell you. For example, I bought this wonderful little cup for shaving. It looks nice. It cost me less than about $1.50. It's double layered, so it'll hold heat. It's a great little brush. The only problem is it's too small to use as a shaving bowl, even though that's what I bought it for. So be sure you know what the dimensions are that you're looking for, so you can get what you really need. You can also get these from, like I say, Craft Supply. I think Woodcraft may sell them. Packard sells them. You can also find them on Amazon, and I'll put one or two of them listed in my Amazon shop. Okay, time to glue the knot in. I'm just going to quickly mix up a little 5-minute epoxy and put it in there and pop the knot in. Smooth as it might. I just want to put it mostly in the bottom, a little bit around the sides. I don't want to bring it too far up the sides or it'll get in the hair of the knot, but I do want to brush it in just a little bit on the bottom wall. And there we go. And just simply press it down in there. Twist it just a bit. And we're done. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing. If you want to support my channel, click on the link in the description and check out my Amazon shop. Anything you buy there, I'll get a small commission.